Next, a student's eye view of a problem we've been covering for a while: concussions suffered on the football field and the damage they do. Hari Srinivasan narrates this report.
According to the National Academy of Sciences, there are 11 recorded concussions for every 10,000 high school games and practices, twice the rate of college players. But researchers believe the number is actually much higher because many go unreported. We asked our network of student reporting labs, middle and high school journalism programs around the country, to provide a snapshot of concussions in their hometowns. Alex Borowski of Windsor High School in California couldn't tell he was badly hurt.
The hit itself wasn't that big. I suffered worse hits, 2 days earlier in practice, and I was basically sleepwalking through the rest of the game.
Coaches are trained to identify when a player is injured, but it can take time for symptoms to appear.
They didn't take me out until the third quarter when one of my coaches noticed how I was acting, and even on film I could see that, I didn't really know what I was doing.
Often players try to hide their injuries to get back in the game, not realizing concussions can lead to memory loss, sleep problems, and changes in behavior.
But Matthews really took such an impact there.
Yeah, he's running back down inside, and that's a good clean hit, really good hit. It's a shoulder pad, but it's still into the chest area, and he's feeling it. That's Cody Pruitt, and that's nice.
Oh, and he's vomiting on the field.
Yeah, you got to get him out
after
of there.
that hit by Cody Pruitt.
Tess, that's the first indicator that you have a concussion.
Sign. Yeah. Telltale sign. You talk to anybody on a medical staff, and they'll tell you that's number one on the list. So they will tend to Jordan Matthews, who will be leaving this game with 9 catches, 136 yards, and a touchdown. Left 2 timeouts for Vanderbilt. And Matthews is coming back into the game, Matt.
That surprises the heck out of me. Now, they would have gone through all concussion protocol, and the doctors would have said, yeah, you're okay. That's the only way he can get back on the field.
That seemed pretty quick to pull that off.
Yeah.
To the world of sports, the NFL is attempting to make the game safer, implementing new concussion rules after dangerous and frightening hits like these. There's even a major change as to who decides whether a player can return to the game, and ABC's Gio Benitez joins us with more on these changes. Good morning to you, Gio.
Hey there, Paula. Good morning to you. Listen, the new changes follow the controversial and upsetting injury to Houston quarterback Tom Savage earlier this month. You remember it right there. We'll show it to you. Savage took a brutal hit in the end zone that left him on the ground, hands visibly shaking, but he was allowed to return to the game before ultimately being sidelined with a concussion. Now, that hit, coupled with a misstep in concussion protocol for Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson, that resulted in a $100,000 fine for the organization, were cited as motivations for the late season changes.
Yeah, the players say they have been fighting for this for a very long time. Some say it's too little, too late. But in terms of the changes that we're going to see in protocol, what are we talking about?
Well, let's get through them right now. Take a look at these changes right now. There's going to be a central UNC that's going to oversee each game from the NFL's command center. Now, that UNC is a member of the medical team that's going to be going through that and watching the broadcast of the game from a spot used for reviewing plays. Also, any sign of impact seizure will be considered the same as loss of consciousness, and the player will be taken out of the game and may not return. And a player who is evaluated for concussion must be reevaluated within 24 hours, even if the player has an off day.
Yeah, and the ref can also report some of the injuries to the medical staff, so the onus isn't just on the players, it's on the UNC, it's on the refs as well. When are we going to see these changes implemented?
Some of them started getting implemented just a day after he was sidelined, Savage was sidelined, but we're going to see these in place for the playoffs and the Super Bowl.
All right, Gio, thank you.
In Junior Seau's death.
Here comes Seau, and he's sacked all the way back at the 40.
He had used his body and his head for 20 years in the NFL. Number 55 was a hard-hitting linebacker. Pain and injury were his specialty. He even bragged about it once on an NFL film.
Perfect hit is when you're faced up, coming one-on-one, and you hear him go, just a little.
He talked about the price he was willing to pay.
You have to sacrifice your body. You have to sacrifice years down the line. When we are 50, 40 years old, we probably won't be able to walk. That's the sacrifice that you take to play this game.
And it had paid off. Seau made millions. He was a philanthropist, beloved in his community. But then a familiar story. His life fell apart.
Junior Seau was arrested for domestic violence in Oceanside, California early on Monday.
Seau accused of hitting his